Another candidate known to buck the trend from time to time, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, registered on Capitol Hill as an independent. He's running in the New Hampshire primary, of course, as a Democrat. He admires other unorthodox figures as well, but in a lot of parts of his life, Sanders is as traditional as baseball.
Morning.
Morning.
Good. So why am I the only person wearing a tie here? Something or Josh is too.
Well, that's because only hours earlier, the Democratic candidate for president was doing his day job in the Senate, and it was a late night.
Well, the good news is the United States government is not going to shut down. And we're not going to cause a world financial crisis by not paying our bills. Now, that's not a very high bar, I know. But there we go. That was what 3 o'clock in the morning was about. So,
sure, Sanders is a senator from Vermont, but he is still very much Brooklyn. And he grew up in a neighborhood that was bound by baseball.
You all remember the Brooklyn Dodgers? You're too young. But it was a team that knit the entire borough together. It was a very important part. You know, if you pressed me, I could name you the starting lineup in 1955, probably, or 52. And we learned to do arithmetic. You want to hear it? It's an investigative reporter. All right. Gil Hodges on first, Junior Gilliam at second, Pee Wee Reese at short, Billy Cox at third, Gina Mansky in left field, Luke Snyder in center field, Carl Furillo in right field, Roy Campanella catching, Preachero, Don Drysdale, and many other great pitchers pitching. Now ask me what I did yesterday. I can't quite remember, but
so how does a kid from Brooklyn end up in Vermont?
Smart guy. The story there is I grew up in Brooklyn, and my parents sent me to Boy Scout camp, and was up in Narrowsburg, New York, and I loved it. I went there, I can't remember, 3 or 4 years, maybe 4 years. Every summer we'd go for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. And it was my first real exposure to the outdoors. And one year when I came back, I really started crying. It was, anyway, I, for whatever reason, really liked being outside, liked hiking, camping. When I was a kid, my brother, older brother, took me to Manhattan, and right near, this is years and years and years ago, near Radio City Music Hall, the state of Vermont had a tourist store there, where they, and what we would do is, my brother would take me around, we'd take leaflets, you know, we'd pick up everything we could. So I learned about Vermont, and it stayed in my mind. I was a little kid.
Sanders moved to Vermont with his wife right out of college. The pair bought 75 acres of land for the tidy sum of $2,500. But it was the pace of life that Sanders says fit him like a glove.
I moved to Vermont because I like rural life. I really do. And even today, when I go around my state or New Hampshire, when you get into the country, my blood pressure goes down. It's a very different experience, you know. In New York, you know, I was just in New York the other day. You know, just you come in. So I'm turns out, after all, that I'm kind of a rural guy.
What's your story? Where do you get your passion for social justice?
That is an excellent question, and the honest answer is I really don't know. I can tell you that as a little kid, you know, we all go to school, and I went to public schools. You always have big guys bullying little guys, right? And I had an instinctual dislike for that, and would stand up for, I was pretty big and strong, and stand up for little guys. Maybe some of it came, I suspect it did. I'm Jewish, and when I was a little kid, my family wasn't particularly political. They voted Democrat, but they weren't political. You know, we learned when I was a little boy in the late 40s about, you know, I was coming of age to understand these things, what happened in my father's family who were killed in the Holocaust. And I think that left a lasting, I remember reading picture books of World War II and tears coming out of my eyes. So I think that left a lasting impression of what evil is about and what oppression is about, what terrible things can happen to human beings.
And it was in his childhood that Sanders formed his opinion of wealth, or lack of it.
But when you're young and you hear your parents arguing, it hits you emotionally, you get scared. And my parents would argue a lot, and most of the arguments ended up being about money. You know, my mother wanted to buy something. Oh, we don't have enough money to do this. No, why don't you make more money? You know? And he was, you know, she wanted him to make more money. And I think so growing up in a family that never had a lot of money, and conscious of what that means. I mean, that's what you're talking about. And I think a lot of folks who have money just don't understand. I mean, they're well-intentioned, but they don't know what it means that maybe you may have trouble putting gas in the car to get to work. That's beyond their comprehension. Or even, you know, worrying about the lights being shut off. But I grew up in a family that, you know, we struggled economically, and that is a lesson I have never, ever, ever forgotten.
What do you do to relax?
Good question. So we got 7 beautiful grandchildren. They are the joy of my life. And this little guy, there's no stopping him. This kid never stops. So we were at an event. We had all the media there. And so somebody from European television goes, well, why would your grandfather be a good president? 4 years old, he says. Well, he teaches me how to play baseball.
In this campaign, the low-key grandfather has grown into a national figure, a celebrity he admits that's tough to get used to.
At National Airport, there were like a dozen people taking selfies. This selfie is... And I'm happy to do selfie. I don't want to... But it is, you know, it's, you know, I'm used to it in Vermont. So, you know, everybody in Vermont knows me. But to be, you know, walking down the streets in Chicago or New York City or Portland, Oregon, and people coming up to you is a little bit strange. A little bit strange. And it means, what it also means is that you have to be on your toes 24 hours a day.
Especially when it comes to the media, a group that Sanders believes often loses sight of the ball.
Dumbest question was, what do I put into my coffee?
Well.
Well, you just saw it. 1 cream. 1 cream. You know, that was, I would say, and I was not very nice to that reporter. You know, I said, hey, we got 1 or 2 crises in America more important than how much cream I put into my coffee. Maybe I was having a bad day, but...
That's not to say Sanders doesn't have humor. He does, and he enjoys the comparison that's often made between himself and the creator of Seinfeld.
Actually, I don't know how to say this. I am Larry David. We left Bernie in Washington. He'll be joining us later this evening. But after determining that Larry sounded more like me than I did, we said, all right, Larry, you're the guy.